Hello listeners, welcome back for another interesting story. Leave your thoughts in the comment section.
Am I the a-hole for giving my family to choices because of what they did to my wife? I 28am always had a good relationship with my family growing up and even into my 20s. It was after my wife 27f and I had our first child that things declined. My wife suffers from an eating disorder, anorexia, and she also has sensory processing disorder, though that's less of an official diagnosis because it's not fully recognized on its own currently, but she has doctors and therapists recognize this as something she struggles with. My wife's childhood was difficult with strict parents who were unkind to their 3 children when it came to food. My wife got the worst of it because she struggled badly with eating certain foods and after several years of being berated over food, told she was behaving like a spoiled little brat and having food forced on her, she developed an eating disorder. At the age of 17, she started seeking help on her own. At first it was just through her school counselor, but then, when she moved out and went to college, where we met, she started seeing a therapist who specialized in eating disorders and sensory feeding issues. She was also able to recognize because of therapy that the reason she struggled to wear certain clothes was related to her sensory processing disorder and was not her being weird about clothes. My wife has educated herself a lot on food, childhood diet, and how to healthily and joyfully introduce new foods to kids. She did this knowing she wanted kids. I gave my family a heads up the first time they were meeting my wife that her diet was not one they were used to, and I said we could bring food if it were easier, which they said it would be for the first time. In the years they knew her before we had kids, they never complained about her eating differently to the rest of us or eating less. Our daughter is 3 years old and our son is 1 year old. It wasn't until she was born and we started having family dinners again post-COVID that I noticed they would comment on my wife's eating or how she was feeding our daughter. We do not restrict our kids' food. They eat more than my wife does. I told them it wasn't kind to pick at her for eating the way she does. They said it wasn't good to still have so many problems after so long. I explained she is still working with her teen and it's a day-by-day thing sometimes. One day they decided to make a meal where there wasn't a thing on the plate my wife could eat. They called her out for being rude and wasting food. I called them out for cooking a meal she couldn't eat when they told us we didn't need to bring anything for her. My sister also made a snarky comment about how colorful our daughter's plate of food was. I spoke to my family and told them they had one more chance after that and they didn't listen, so I said they had 2 options. Shut up about how my wife and kids eat, be kind and allow us to bring food for her, or we don't join them for dinners anymore. They said I was an a-hole for giving them those 2 options. I said they need to pick or I'll do it for them, and I'll go with option B. Am I the a-hole for giving them a choice to make?
Here is my 2 cents. OP is not the a-hole. His family had been told, but they purposely went their way and did the opposite. They sure don't know how to respect OP and his wife's boundaries and preferences. His family acts like they know more about her health than his wife does. Them leaving hurtful and unkind comments to his wife is unacceptable, knowing that his family was told in advance about her struggles and dietary preferences. For his family to force his wife and prepare food that she can't eat, it was time to give them the choice to make. If they can't respect what she's been through, then maybe it's time to limit or cut contact with his family. Well, at least OP gave them a choice. On the other hand, what a great husband OP is for standing up for his wife and supporting his wife throughout her struggles and healing. It's good that he prioritizes his wife and children's well-being, as his family is subjecting his wife's dietary choices to unreasonable manners. Obviously, his wife still has a lot to work through, but it doesn't mean she needs to conform to the norm by disregarding her personal struggles. She can work at her own pace until she is completely well. That's just my opinion.